Hey Quinn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah, excited to have you on. So tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about the agency that you started.
Yeah, so my name's Quinn Zeta. I started freelancing right out of college, which then turned into too much work that I could handle. I started hiring more freelancers, which then kind of morphed into an agency where I started then kind of hiring my first like full-time employees that were like really dedicated to me. And after running the agency for a few years, maybe 5 or 6 years, then I shut it down. And now I run a startup, Conversion Crimes, which is like a user testing SaaS. Um, and yeah, when I ran the agency, we were doing user experience, conversion rate optimization, really focused on helping basically businesses around the 1 to 5 million mark scale. You know, people kind of get a business to a certain point, they reach a glass ceiling, and they kind of duct taped everything together. They found product market fit, they started making their money, and they're like, yeah, but now like what we built doesn't represent who we are anymore. So we come in and kind of restructure that. So
Very cool. And talk a little bit about like what was the biggest accomplishment that you had at the agency, before you closed it down, and like and why?
yeah, the biggest accomplishment I think was kind of really getting with the value based pricing that we went on. So when I first started, I was charging like $1,000 for a website. And I ended at a quarter of a million for a website. So originally, like when I started that, it was like this client is like 1,000, the next one was 2,000, the next one was 4,000, then at 8,000. I just kept doubling it every time I would send a proposal out. Granted, the deliverables definitely changed from each one of those jumps and kind of gave me more resources to get more clarity on the kind of projects that we wanted to do. And then I went from like 20K to like 180K and jump. So I'm super proud of being able to have pulled that off, and then also getting in alignment with what I actually wanted from the business and the work that I really wanted to do. So one of my like biggest frustrations and like these like $1,000 or $2,000 projects was that I could never really execute them in the way that I wanted to. Like I would see all these things I wanted to do, but of course their budget is 2K, so I'm not going to do like months of work for like 2K, and really getting that in alignment with what I wanted to actually deliver and add value and to have pulled that off. So I was like super, super stoked on that.
What was what was the changing point, or what made you change from? I think you were saying it was like 20,000 to 180. So that was a big jump. So what happened?
Yeah, so the first one kind of ended up a little bit kind of in my lap, right? So I didn't really kind of go out and pitch that I'm going to sell that for 180 or what have you. It started out as a retainer where we I like had this roadmap of things I wanted to accomplish for this business, and I couldn't really sell them on that yet. One, I hadn't proven myself yet. I couldn't really articulate the value, and it was also like out of their price range, right? So what I did was it was like, okay, I'm going to do this first project for these like couple of months for this much retainer each month. I think it was like 10K or something like that. And then I'm going to get a result that's going to pay for the next phase. And this is the next phase that we're going to do of this project. And in that, I was able to get some really incredible results for the client. So then they were like, okay, let's do the next phase. And then when I got that one, I was like, okay, let's do the next phase. And then it ended up being my end goal, right? So yeah, it was a really cool kind of process. And then after that, I kind of figured out like, okay, if I did it this way, how can I repeat that with like kind of giving them the end result? So that's when I kind of implemented this road mapping strategy, where instead of selling them on like this 200K project or whatever, I sold them on a 10K roadmap, of which I would just outline the project that I was going to do, here's like the thing, and this is the price. So that's kind of how that transitioned.
Yeah, I like it. It follows a methodology that I teach a lot of agencies of going, you know, sell them a foot in the door, which is basically a strategy, right? Of like, here's
Hmm.
everything that we're going to do. And then figure out how long it takes in order for them to start seeing some results. And then it can transition to a monster, engagement, after. And a lot of people just don't figure that out. When I went from the $20,000 websites to the $80,000 websites and beyond, my story, it wasn't as graceful as that. It was more about like this asshole literally. I didn't want to say no to this asshole, and I literally was like 80,000, thinking he would just go away, and he said yes. And then I realized
You're
psychologically,
like, oh man.
yeah, I was like, shit. Psychologically, I realized, I was like, well, other people, if this idiot would say it, let's find some really good people that we can do really good work with. But I like your story
Yeah,
better.
yeah, and it's I kind of had like the same thing as well. It's like, oh, I saw one person one time. Like, there's got to be another person out there that would do this because we had a very unique kind of product that we were doing that was different than other agencies. Like, we did a complete transformation because we were really experts in a lot of those different things. We were able to cohesively pull it together, where I think a lot of agencies can't. And I also sold them on like, you're getting our full attention. We're only doing one major project at a time, so you're getting our team's focus, because the kind of work that went into that was like really this deep work, and you can't manage like five clients on that
What
at
was
the
what
same
was
time.
some
At
of
least I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So what were some of the details that go into it? Because some people are like, "Holy cow, 250,000 for a website." But it's not just a website, right? Like it's strategy, it's research, execute. Like talk a little bit about everything that goes
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, so I'm really big on customer research and stuff like that. So a lot of these businesses, they just kind of found product market fit through whatever reason. But then they didn't know who their most profitable customer was. They didn't know like who was like draining their teams of resources and stuff. So we would actually go in, we would interview their team, we would interview all of their different customer segments, we would go through their analytics, we would do user testing. And we would kind of come up with we'd spend like the projects were in general about like 8 months long. And so we'd spend like the first 3 months just going through all of that, getting all the data, making these like reports on them, kind of putting all this stuff together, and then kind of looking at all of it and being like, okay, this is your most profitable customer, but we're not even speaking to them on the website. Or we'd find out that people were coming in to the website, but then they were losing them on their back end operations. So they would get a lead in, but then it would take a week to get like their first like class scheduled or something like that, right? And so it was like, okay, we would also go into operations and help them, because that's part of like you say, website conversion rate optimization, right? But it's also, you have to be able to deliver on the back end. So we would help that. Sometimes we help them kind of restructure a little bit their team, and then we would take all these insights and we'd create a plan of action. And we would make outlines for sales copy, what kind of things are needed, and then kind of turn it into a final product. So that's like the branding, the marketing, the strategy, kind of really a whole business overhaul. But how I got that lead in was a website. They're like, oh, we need a website. And it's like, well, no, you need more than a website. You need to understand where you're taking the business. If you want to grow your business, that's like the underlying goal here, right? It's not just about a pretty website with a cool logo.
Yeah, we always use the website as the end because people would be like, "Oh, I need a website." Well, why do you need a website? Well, my competitor just redesigned theirs.
Hmm.
Well, no, like, and yeah, if that's all you need, go to a particular, templated site, and you can get, a website. Just pick a theme, and you can do that. Versus,
Hmm.
if you really want results, then we can look at it a different way. And I liked your process and analysis of everything that you went through, because I bet when you're explaining that to the prospect, they're like, oh yeah, and it separates you from everyone else. Did you find that?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and that's a big reason why we started with the roadmap, because if I was gonna, like, tell them those things or try to sell them on those things, they didn't believe me really at first, but if I could sell them on the roadmap for the website, and then I kinda put those things in there and didn't tell them about it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that makes total sense. We can't just increase the leads on our website because we're losing them here. So it'd make no sense to invest there and not invest here." And nobody else really would point that out to them. So I had to kind of like weasel it in.
Yeah.
If
No,
that
it's
makes sense.
exactly. Well, what you're doing is you're educating them. They came to you for a particular
Hmm.
was something that they thought they wanted, and you educated them, and then like, well, this is the process, and it just there was literally no probably other choice that they had, after you explained that. So that's amazing. Um, is there anything else? I mean, this has all been amazing, and I always like to keep these short, like I was telling you, just so people can really hear it and go, oh man, I need to make this simple if I'm just designing websites or if I'm just doing SEO or pay per click or whatever your particular service is.
Hmm.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think if you were listening to this show back when you were, getting going, that you would want to know?
Back when I was getting going, um, I think in the beginning, I didn't really understand the importance of systems and processes and SOPs and stuff like that, and how valuable they were to the business. So, as like an agency owner, there are tons of processes that happen, and even though what we were doing, this like huge project that was very custom tailored to the client, there is still a repeatable creative process in that. And so every time we had someone do something, I had them like document it and start to make these SOPs. And they started out like really primitive. Like, here's the 10 steps I'm going to do. I'm going to analyze analytics. Then I'm going to like put that data in a spreadsheet. And then I'm going to like something super simple like that. But the next time it's like, oh, I'm adding screenshots, I'm adding the step by step of what that means to add the data to the Excel sheet or what have you. And this has like saved me so much time. One, I've never really created an SOP in my life, but my team has created them all. And it's like when someone else comes in or something, it's like now I'm just like, oh, here's the SOP. Boom. And I didn't really understand the importance of creating those in the beginning, but they've been game changing for my business overall.
I love it. I love it. Where can people? What's the website? What's the SaaS website people can go and check you guys out?
Yeah, so my SaaS website is conversioncrimes.com. If you want to check out the old agency site, it's zedalabs.com, Zeda. Um, and let's see, like Twitter is just my name, Quinn Zeda. I think I'm like the only one, so it's pretty easy.
That is easy. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and I wish you the best of luck. And for everyone that listened, if you want to be around other agency owners that can share the things that are working for them and be able to hopefully be able to see the things you might not be able to see, I'd love to invite all of you to go to digitalagencyelite.com, apply, and if we think you're right for the mastermind and we can help you out, we'll have a conversation. So go do that now. And until next time, have a swank day.